That summer, Savannah seemed suspended in its own time, where the heat not only touched but enveloped everything with an almost tangible presence. The avenues, bordered by ancient oaks whose branches intertwined above, created a labyrinth of shadows over the cobblestone streets. In those shadows, Jasmine Carter found brief relief from the relentless sun. The occasional breeze, carrying with it the scent of the Savannah River, offered a small respite, blending the coolness of the water with the day's heat. Jasmine, in her early 20s, moved with a purpose that transcended the simple act of walking. She was a silhouette of determination against the historical backdrop of the city, her resolute steps echoing on the sidewalks as she approached Montclair Boutique. The store, situated on the renowned Broughton Street, stood out not only for its elegant facade, but also for the aura of exclusivity that surrounded it. It was a realm where fashion was not only sold but celebrated, a place known for attracting a clientele as selective as the articles it showcased. The resume Jasmine held was more than paper. It was the embodiment of her hopes and dreams, meticulously prepared, each word weighed and every detail reviewed. However, as she approached her destination, a subtle nervousness began to infiltrate her confidence. The paper, now crumpling under the tension of her fingers, suddenly seemed fragile, almost insufficient in the face of the boutique's grandeur. Jasmine Carter stopped just short of the entrance to Montclair Boutique, anxiety and anticipation swirling a storm within her. Beneath the scorching noonday veil of Savannah, she allowed herself a moment of introspection before the elegantly decorated storefront. The reflection staring back at her, framed between mannequins dressed in the latest fashion, was that of a young woman whose blazer, somewhat outdated but meticulously cared for, had been a deliberate choice. This blazer, a loan from her Aunt Marianne, carried not only the subtle scent of lavender and naphthalene, but also the silent promise of protection and luck. It was a piece that contrasted with the cutting-edge trends adorning the mannequins, and yet, to Jasmine, symbolized much more than mere attire. It was a standard of her determination and professionalism. She rehearsed a smile, her lips trembling slightly as they curved. The reflection showed a smile seeking courage, an attempt to infuse herself with the confidence her posture attempted to convey. "You are capable," Jasmine whispered, her words a balm for the nerves threatening to consume her. It was more than a mantra. It was a reminder of all the adversities she had already overcome, a silent anthem to the strength she knew she possessed, even when doubt threatened to surface. With her hand reaching towards the door, Jasmine felt the cold metal beneath her fingers, the contact an anchor to reality. She took a deep breath, each molecule of air carrying the weight of her dream, and then, with an almost reverent gesture, pushed open the door and entered the fashion sanctuary that was Montclair Boutique. The environment that greeted her was a study in contrast, the coolness of the air conditioning hitting against the heat still pulsating on her skin, and the soft music floating above the discreet murmur of conversations. The interior of the boutique was a time capsule, where each piece of clothing, each accessory, told a story of art and elegance. Jasmine allowed herself a moment of admiration, her eyes dancing over the textures and colors before her focus realigned with the purpose that brought her there. As Jasmine slowly moved through the space, each step brought her closer to the confrontation she both anticipated and feared. The resume in her hand, now a talisman against uncertainty, seemed to vibrate with the importance of the moment. In that instant, the distance between dream and reality seemed both immeasurable and insignificant, for it was about to be traversed by a simple conversation. And so, with her heart beating a tumult of hopes and fears, Jasmine Carter advanced, ready to face whatever destiny had in store for her. It was the beginning of something new, perhaps something grand, and she was prepared to claim her place in the world, one step at a time. Upon entering Montclair Boutique, Jasmine was instantly transported to a separate universe, where the coolness of the air conditioning collided with Savannah's scorching heat, creating a serene refuge. Background music, a soft and inviting melody, danced through the space, intertwining with the rustle of hangers and the discreet murmur of conversations between customers and staff. The store, with its meticulously organized shelves and artistically decorated windows, exuded an aura of exclusivity and sophistication. However, this immaculate setting also generated in Jasmine a growing sense of alienation. As she admired the environment, she couldn't help but feel like an intruder in a world that seemed reserved only for those with a certain social and economic status. Approaching the counter, where the authoritative figure of the owner awaited her, only intensified this feeling. The woman, a paragon of elegance and rigidity, with her impeccable hairstyle and business suit, suggesting both sophistication and unwavering authority, fixed her gaze on Jasmine. It was a gaze that carried years of experience, capable of assessing and judging in a matter of seconds. When Jasmine, with a trembling yet hopeful voice, introduced herself and offered her resume, the woman's reaction was marked by calculated coldness. "Do you truly believe you have what it takes to work here?" The owner's question sought not an answer, but rather underlined a perceived discrepancy. It was a voice that carried the ice of judgment, sharp and devoid of any warmth. Though shaken, Jasmine gathered all the courage she could muster to respond. She spoke of her experience in sales and customer service, of her passion for fashion, and of her burning desire to learn and grow. Each word was an attempt to assert herself, to prove her worth in that brief moment of judgment. The woman's reaction was devastating. With a laugh that sounded more like a mockery than amusement, she shattered Jasmine's hopes as easily as she tore apart her resume. The suggestion that Jasmine should settle for a more appropriate role, such as that of a cleaner, was an affront to her dignity and aspirations. For Jasmine, the act of tearing up the resume symbolized much more than the rejection of her application. It was a denial of her worth as an individual, based solely on superficial prejudices. The owner's words, laden with contempt, struck Jasmine with a force she hadn't expected, awakening a tumultuous mix of indignation, sadness, and silent resolve. Without uttering another word, Jasmine turned and left the boutique, carrying with her not only the weight of humiliation but also a newfound determination. The sound of the door closing behind her didn't mark the end of her journey but the beginning of a new chapter, where adversities would fuel her resilience and future success. As she stepped out of the boutique, Jasmine felt Savannah's warmth envelop her like a wave. Unlike the artificial coolness of the store's air conditioning, the warm air was a reminder of the relentless reality awaiting her outside. But at that moment, temperature wasn't what bothered her the most. Inside her, a volatile mix of emotions burned much hotter than the midday sun. Anger, shame, and fierce determination intertwined in her chest, each heartbeat feeding this inner fire with renewed oxygen. It was a strange feeling for Jasmine to confront prejudice and racism so directly. She was aware of these shadows in society, of course, but experiencing them firsthand, being their target, was a brutal shock. It was as if a curtain had been abruptly pulled back, revealing a truth she would have preferred not to see. Yet, despite the pain and initial shock, there was a spark of something else inside her, something that refused to be extinguished by the boutique owner's venomous words. With each step she took through Savannah's historic streets, Jasmine felt that spark grow in intensity. She refused to let that bitter experience define who she was or what she could become. "This isn't the end," she muttered to herself, her voice almost drowned out by the constant hum of the city around her. "This is just the beginning." It was a promise, not just to herself but to the world, that she wouldn't be defeated so easily. Jasmine knew the road ahead would be tough. The incident in the boutique wouldn't be the last obstacle she'd face, nor would prejudice be the only enemy to combat. But every challenge, she now understood, was an opportunity to prove to herself and the world her strength and determination. Lifting her chin with the posture of one facing a storm head-on, Jasmine continued to walk. The heat of the day, the voices of the city, everything seemed to fade into a blurry background. In that moment, there was only her and her unshakable resolve. That experience, painful as it was, had ignited a flame within her, a flame of determination, of hope, and of courage. "I will overcome this," she whispered to herself, each word a spark feeding her determination. "I will show them, I will show everyone." And with that silent promise, Jasmine Carter took another step in her journey, a journey that would lead her down paths she could never have imagined. A journey of struggle, yes, but also of triumph. For within her burned the fire of resilience, and that fire would not be extinguished. Yet amidst this emotional and psychological turmoil, an unknown strength began to emerge within Jasmine, a resilience she never knew she possessed. This newfound inner power propelled her, awakening a renewed determination to transcend the limits the world seemed to impose upon her. Every morning as she rose, Jasmine made a silent pact with herself. She would not allow the shadows of that day at the boutique to define her future. With this steadfast resolve, Jasmine plunged into the quest for new opportunities, channeling her energy into forging her own path that would take her beyond the limited expectations of those around her. She spent hours in the library, researching careers, scholarships, and mentoring programs. Each application sent was a seed of hope, each interview a chance to prove her worth. On one of those days, as Jasmine flipped through a heavy catalog of scholarships at the Savannah Public Library, a conversation nearby caught her attention. Two women were discussing a new initiative by a local organization focused on supporting young women of color in their educational and professional aspirations. With her heart pounding, Jasmine approached, her shyness momentarily forgotten. "Excuse me," she gently interrupted. "Could you tell me more about this initiative?" The ensuing conversation not only opened the door to an unexpected opportunity, but also marked the beginning of a support network Jasmine didn't even know she needed. The women, impressed by Jasmine's determination, encouraged her to apply for the program, offering to guide her through the process. In the weeks and months that followed, every rejection Jasmine faced, every no she received, instead of dampening her spirit, only fueled the flame of her determination. She began to understand that every obstacle was a lesson, every barrier a challenge to be overcome. And with each overcoming, she grew stronger, more resilient, more prepared to face the world ahead. In her tireless quest for employment, Jasmine stumbled upon an advertisement that seemed like a beacon of hope amidst the storm of rejections and uncertainties she had been facing. The position was for a personal assistant and nanny offered by the Anderson family. Initially, Jasmine felt hesitant. Doubt consumed her. Would she be able to connect and meet the expectations of a family who seemingly lived in a sphere entirely distinct from her reality? Despite the uncertainties, she decided to respond to the advertisement. After all, what else did she have to lose? Her thoughts were turbulent as she made her way to the provided address for the interview. The streets separating her from the Andersons' home seemed to echo her insecurities, each step bringing her closer to an uncertain future. The Anderson residence was located in one of the most prestigious neighborhoods in Savannah, where the houses not only showcased impressive architecture, but also told stories of generations of success and prosperity. Upon arrival, Jasmine took a moment to admire the imposing facade of the house, allowing herself to dream, albeit briefly, of a world of possibilities that might unfold for her. With her heart racing, she rang the doorbell. The sound seemed to resonate far beyond the front door, marking the beginning of a new chapter in her life. The door opened, and she was greeted by Sarah Anderson, whose warm smile and welcoming demeanor immediately eased some of the tension Jasmine carried. The interview took place in the Anderson family's spacious living room, a tastefully decorated space that perfectly balanced understated luxury with a homely feeling. As they conversed, Jasmine couldn't help but notice the family photos adorning the walls, portraits of happy moments that made her wonder if she could fit into that frame. Sarah Anderson, sensing Jasmine's hesitation, spoke with a sincerity and openness that surprised the young candidate. "We're not just looking for an employee, Jasmine. We're looking for someone who can become part of our family, someone who shares and contributes to our values and dreams." Sarah's words, so full of hope and confidence, deeply touched Jasmine, dissipating the last shadows of doubt in her heart. By the end of the interview, it was clear that something special had formed between Jasmine and the Anderson family. What started as a simple job search had turned into a meaningful encounter of worlds, promising not only a new job opportunity for Jasmine, but also the chance to be part of something greater, of a family that welcomed her with open arms and open hearts. Sarah's decision to offer the position to Jasmine was more than a professional agreement. It was a vote of confidence, a bet on the potential she saw in Jasmine, not just as a caregiver but as an individual. And for Jasmine, this moment marked a decisive turning point, a bright point of light that dispelled the darkness of her doubts and fears, illuminating the path to a future full of promises and possibilities. The Andersons' residence was situated in an emblematic area of Savannah, whose picturesque beauty was enhanced by its proximity to one of the city's most charming parks. Robust trees with their dense foliage provided shade and coolness, creating an almost idyllic landscape. In this stunning setting, the house stood out not only for its elegant architecture, but also for the warmth that seemed to emanate from its walls. It was there that Jasmine found a new beginning, a turning point in her journey. As Jasmine passed through the gate, she was greeted by the melodious singing of birds, blending with the sound of children's laughter in the background, giving her a sense of tranquility and belonging. Sarah Anderson, the matriarch of the family, welcomed Jasmine with a smile that lit up her face, radiating a serenity that immediately made Jasmine feel at home. Sarah's natural elegance, complemented by simplicity in her attire, perfectly reflected the harmony between sophistication and coziness that characterized the residence. Sarah led Jasmine through the immense foyer, its walls adorned with family portraits and artworks telling stories of generations. Each room they passed seemed to have its own essence, a combination of history, love, and meticulous care. As they entered the living room, a spacious and inviting space with windows offering a spectacular view of the park, Sarah shared a bit about her family's dynamics. With touching sincerity, Sarah explained that her husband, a man devoted to both family and career, often found himself out of town due to professional commitments. This left her alone in managing the household and raising their two children, a boy and a girl, whose energy and curiosity seemed to know few bounds. The need for someone who could not only assist with daily tasks but also offer love and attention to the children was evident. Sarah confided in Jasmine that more than an assistant or a nanny, she was looking for someone who could become part of the family, someone she could trust to take care of the most precious aspects of their lives. Her words, filled with hope and expectation, resonated deeply with Jasmine, sparking in her a sincere desire to become part of this family, to contribute and grow alongside them. This encounter, though initially marked by Jasmine's anxiety and uncertainty, turned into a moment of genuine connection. What began as a formal interview evolved into a conversation between two people who, despite their different life journeys, found common ground in the shared desire for support, understanding, and care. It was the beginning of a relationship that promised not only to change Jasmine's life, but also to enrich the Anderson family in ways they could not yet imagine. In the months that followed, Jasmine's experience in the Andersons' home turned into a journey of discovery and growth, far beyond a mere occupation to sustain herself. The Anderson residence, a welcoming and vibrant home nestled in the heart of Savannah, became the backdrop for a profound transformation for Jasmine. The house, with its expansive windows opening onto a meticulously tended garden where children's laughter often echoed, became a place of belonging and learning. Jasmine, with her dedication and empathy, quickly became an indispensable figure in the family dynamics. Her relationship with Alex and Mia, the two children of the Andersons, evolved from mere professional responsibility into a loving and deep bond. Alex, with his adventurous and curious spirit, often sought out Jasmine to explore the mysteries of the vast garden or to help him with his homework, seeing her as both a mentor and a friend. Mia, on the other hand, with her sweetness and love for the arts, found in Jasmine a confidant and a guide, sharing her paintings and dreams with her. This unique connection with the children proved to be a source of joy and inspiration for Jasmine, encouraging her to reflect on her own dreams and aspirations. Sarah Anderson, observing Jasmine's positive influence on her children and recognizing her latent potential, became an invaluable source of support. She not only offered words of encouragement, but also tangible gestures of support. Upon noticing Jasmine's interest in medicine, Sarah didn't hesitate to offer resources to help her pursue this passion. It was on a quiet afternoon while the children played in the garden that Sarah and Jasmine had a meaningful conversation in the kitchen, a space filled with warmth and laughter where many important conversations in the house tended to happen. "Jasmine, I see how you are with Alex and Mia, and how your eyes light up when you talk about medicine," said Sarah, pouring a cup of tea for Jasmine. "I want you to know that you have our support to pursue this passion. Education is a precious asset, and you deserve this opportunity as much as anyone." This gesture of faith and support was a turning point for Jasmine. Motivated by the Anderson family's confidence and her own newfound determination, she began dedicating her free time to preparing for the medical school entrance exam, balancing her responsibilities with her studies. The house library, with its shelves full of books and a soothing view of the garden, became her sanctuary, a place where she could focus on her future with the full support of a family that embraced her as one of their own. Jasmine Carter's transformation, from her enrollment in medical school to becoming an exemplary student, was a journey marked by intense challenges and significant achievements. With the invaluable support of the Anderson family, Jasmine embarked on this new phase of her life with a mixture of nervousness and excitement, aware of the obstacles she would face but driven by a steadfast determination to overcome them. Medical school, a vast and complex world of knowledge, demanded from Jasmine much more than mere dedication. It required passion, resilience, and an unwavering commitment to the future she had chosen for herself. The long nights devoted to study, the countless hours spent among books and notes, the study sessions that stretched into the dawn were not merely academic routines. They were the steps Jasmine climbed in her personal and professional ascent. It wasn't easy. There were moments when the weight of responsibility seemed overwhelming, when the fear of failure whispered doubts in her heart. But in those times, the memory of the support and faith the Andersons had placed in her served as a beacon, guiding her back to the path of perseverance. Sarah and the children became not only her family, but also her greatest cheerleaders, celebrating every small victory and offering solace in rare defeats. Jasmine was not just a student. She was a force of nature. Her intelligence, though impressive, was not her only gift. It was her empathy, her profound understanding of the human condition, that set her apart. These qualities, though intangible, were perceived by teachers and peers who saw in her not only a future doctor, but a true healer. Recognition of her abilities and potential came not only in the form of excellent grades, but also through moments of genuine connection with patients during clinical rounds, where Jasmine demonstrated an almost intuitive ability to provide comfort and understanding. It was during these practical internships that Jasmine truly shone, applying her technical knowledge with a sensitivity that transcended the clinical aspect of medicine. After years dedicated to intensive study and hard work, marked by long nights of study and personal sacrifices, Jasmine achieved a significant milestone in her journey: graduation in medicine with honors. This moment of triumph not only validated her tireless effort, but also marked the beginning of a new chapter in her professional life. Choosing to specialize in rare diseases, Jasmine embarked on residency, a challenging field that would demand from her not only technical competence, but also deep empathy and dedication to patients. During her residency, Jasmine not only delved into the complex universe of uncommon medical conditions, but also stood out for her exceptional skill and careful approach in patient treatment. It was her decisive intervention in a case of Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, a rare disease characterized by extreme fragility of connective tissue, that solidified her reputation as a standout physician in the field. Jasmine showed a remarkable combination of technical knowledge and human understanding, providing medical care that went beyond physical treatment, touching patients' lives in a profound and lasting way. However, Jasmine's impact extended far beyond her medical achievements. Aware of the barriers she had faced, not only as a woman in medicine but also as a person of color in a field historically dominated by white men, Jasmine became an active voice in the fight against racial prejudice within the medical community. She not only challenged these barriers in her daily work, Jasmine also dedicated her time to mentoring young medical students from ethnic minorities, sharing her experience and encouraging them to pursue their dreams despite the obstacles. In lectures, workshops, and even in articles published in medical journals, Jasmine spoke about the importance of diversity in medicine, arguing that a more representative medical workforce could provide more empathetic and effective care to patients from all backgrounds. Her story of determination, resilience, and success became a source of inspiration for future generations of physicians, proving that, regardless of adversities, it is possible to achieve excellence and make a significant difference in the world. Over the years, Jasmine Carter transformed from an anxious and determined medical student into a renowned expert in the field of rare diseases. The time distance between her current moment and the young woman who, filled with dreams and ambitions, had her resume disdainfully torn by Elizabeth Montgomery in the boutique, now seemed like an abyss. That episode, once a source of acute pain, had turned into a mere point in the complex tapestry of Jasmine's life. However, fate, in its relentless irony, was about to weave an unexpected connection between the two women, challenging preconceived notions of forgiveness and compassion. Elizabeth Montgomery, on the other hand, faced a radically different reality from the one she lived in during the prosperous days of her boutique. The shop, once an icon of elegance and success, now faced decline, a victim not only of the relentless waves of change in the fashion market, but also of the isolation provoked by Elizabeth's own uncompromising behavior. Customers and employees, once loyal, had drifted away, leaving the boutique and its owner in a kind of self-imposed exile. Elizabeth's life took an even more unexpected turn when she was diagnosed with Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, a rare disease that affects connective tissue, resulting in extreme skin fragility, joint hypermobility, and a wide range of painful and debilitating complications. The search for treatment led her to a dead end, as her town lacked specialists capable of properly dealing with her complex condition. It was then that Elizabeth's and Jasmine's paths crossed again, under circumstances neither could have foreseen. Elizabeth, seeking relief for her debilitating condition, was referred to Dr. Jasmine Carter, recognized for her expertise in treating rare diseases. The reunion was fraught with tension and irony. The woman who had once dismissed Jasmine as inadequate was now in the hands of the doctor seeking healing and understanding. This unexpected encounter was not only an opportunity for Elizabeth to find relief for her physical suffering, but also a chance for both women to explore the complex territories of forgiveness and personal growth. For Jasmine, it was a test of her ability to separate the past from the present and to practice her profession with the compassion that had always guided her. For Elizabeth, it was a humbling lesson about vulnerability and the need to rethink hasty judgments. On that day, when Elizabeth Montgomery crossed the threshold of Dr. Jasmine Carter's office, the air became charged with an almost tangible tension. Elizabeth, marked by the fragility of her condition and the years that had passed since their last encounter, could barely imagine that the doctor before her was the same young woman she had disdainfully rejected years ago. The surprise, however, was unilateral. Jasmine, in turn, immediately recognized Elizabeth, every detail of her countenance evoking the painful memory of that afternoon in the boutique. The consulting room, a space that blended clinical functionality with touches of human warmth, soft-toned walls, meticulously aligned diplomas, and a vase of fresh flowers on the table, became the setting for this reunion laden with untold stories. Jasmine, maintaining the composure demanded by her profession, focused on understanding the extent of Elizabeth's illness, but couldn't help her mind briefly wandering to the past, questioning the twists and turns of fate. As the consultations progressed, the interaction between doctor and patient evolved. Elizabeth, initially tense and cautious, began to unravel the competence and inherent kindness of Jasmine. The irony of the situation did not escape her. The person she once considered unfit to work in her boutique was now the specialist whose skill and empathy could offer her relief and hope. Several weeks had passed since Elizabeth Montgomery's treatment began, and with each session, she felt tangible improvement, not only in her physical condition but also in her spirit. It was on a particularly challenging day, after a long treatment session that tested both her physical and emotional resilience, that Elizabeth found the strength to confront a ghost from her past. Exhausted but driven by a need for reconciliation, she looked directly into Jasmine's eyes, her voice trembling with emotion and effort. "You remember me, don't you? From the boutique. That day I was less than kind to you. And now here we are." Jasmine, whose journey since that encounter in the boutique had been marked by both overcoming and transformation, found within herself a deep serenity. "I remember, yes," she replied, her voice firm yet gentle, reflecting the peace she had found in forgiveness. "But that day, that moment does not define who we are. We all have the ability to change, to grow. My priority now is your health. It is to help you improve. It is to help you." This exchange of words between Elizabeth and Jasmine was a milestone in both their healing processes. For Elizabeth, it was a moment to face the reality of her past actions, to acknowledge the impact of her words and attitudes, and to begin the hard work of self-reflection and change. For Jasmine, it was confirmation that her decision to forgive and move forward had been correct, not only for her inner peace, but also as an example of the transformative power of empathy and forgiveness. In the following months, Elizabeth's treatment not only continued to show improvements in her physical health, but also initiated an inner transformation. Under Jasmine's compassionate care, Elizabeth began to reflect more deeply on her life, her choices, her relationships. She acknowledged the isolation she had imposed upon herself, not only from her clients and colleagues, but also from authentic and meaningful human connections. This period of introspection led her to value human relationships more, the importance of compassion, understanding, and above all, forgiveness. This process was not easy for Elizabeth. There were moments of deep doubt and confrontation with uncomfortable truths about herself. However, each step forward on the path of self-awareness was also a step towards redemption. The patient-doctor relationship between Elizabeth and Jasmine evolved into something more. It became a symbol of shared humanity, vulnerability, and the infinite capacity of the human heart for compassion and transformation. Elizabeth's journey under Jasmine's care became a powerful testament to the profound impact that kindness, forgiveness, and empathy can have, not only on those who receive these gifts, but also on those who offer them. And for Jasmine, providing treatment to Elizabeth became an opportunity not only to heal but also to teach and inspire both her patient and everyone around her about the power of positive change and personal growth. The profound change experienced by Elizabeth Montgomery reached its climax at a significant event, a medical conference dedicated to Ehlers-Danlos syndrome. Dr. Jasmine Carter, renowned for her significant contributions to the understanding and treatment of this rare disease, was one of the guest speakers. The atmosphere was charged with anticipation. The auditorium, filled with healthcare professionals, dedicated researchers, and hopeful patients for new insights, formed a living tapestry of the medical community involved with this condition. It was in this environment of knowledge-sharing and hope that Elizabeth, whose journey of self-discovery and transformation had been catalyzed by her own battle with Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, made a surprising appearance. With a courage she may not have known she possessed, Elizabeth took the floor. In front of an audience representing both the pinnacle of medical expertise and human vulnerability, she began to share her story. "My journey to this moment has been marked by a series of painful and transformative revelations," Elizabeth began, her voice carrying the weight of her past experiences. "I have been, unwittingly, at the epicenter of prejudice, both as perpetrator and victim. But it was through the invaluable care and compassion of Dr. Jasmine Carter that I began to truly understand what redemption means." The silence that followed her speech was dense, a reflection of the audience's surprise and the gravity of Elizabeth's confessions. She continued, describing how the diagnosis of Ehlers-Danlos syndrome not only challenged her understanding of herself and her health, but also forced her to confront her past attitudes and recognize the incalculable value of empathy. The compassion Dr. Carter demonstrated, not only as a physician but as a human being, was a catalyst for my own transformation, Elizabeth admitted, her eyes seeking Jasmine's in the crowd. "That's why I would like to announce a significant donation to Ehlers-Danlos syndrome research in Dr. Jasmine Carter's name, as recognition of her tireless work and the profound difference she has made in my life. The audience's reaction was a mix of warm applause and surprised murmurs. Elizabeth's generosity, both emotional and financial, was not just a gesture of gratitude. It was a testimony to the power of empathy and forgiveness to transform lives. For Jasmine, Elizabeth's words were a confirmation of the impact she wished to have on the world, a legacy of healing that transcends the boundaries of medicine to touch the deepest foundations of humanity. This moment at the conference not only celebrated advances in Ehlers-Danlos syndrome treatment, but also illuminated the path to a deeper understanding of compassion, essential in both medicine and life. For Elizabeth and Jasmine, it was a milestone of reconciliation and hope, a reminder that even in the most challenging circumstances, redemption and purpose are possible to find. Elizabeth's gesture of publicly acknowledging her mistakes, coupled with her journey of redemption, became a catalyst for profound discussions in various circles, from healthcare professionals to groups on digital platforms dedicated to personal development and overcoming adversity. For Jasmine, the evolution of this story reinforced a fundamental truth she had always sought to mirror in her life and career. True success transcends professional milestones, anchoring itself in the ability to impact others' lives significantly, even those who had caused her pain in the past. This deep understanding that positive influence and a legacy of change are as important as individual achievements redefined for her the concept of fulfillment. In the wake of the conference, the reverberation of Jasmine and Elizabeth's story was remarkable. Accounts of their reconciliation and the transformative power of empathy echoed through local newspaper articles, blog posts, and news segments, sparking broad and reflective dialogue. Online communities, discussion forums, and social networks lit up with conversations about the meaning of compassion, forgiveness, and personal growth, inspiring many to share their own experiences of overcoming and change. Elizabeth's courage in admitting her faults, together with Jasmine's willingness to forgive, became a powerful example of how broken relationships and old prejudices can be transformed into opportunities for learning and mutual empathy. This story encouraged individuals to reflect on their own lives and consider how they could adopt a more open and compassionate stance, not only in their personal interactions, but in all aspects of their lives. As the narrative of Jasmine and Elizabeth spread, serving as inspiration to many, it underscored a universal truth. The human journey is intrinsically marked by failures and redemptions. Through their actions and choices, both women demonstrated that it is possible to emerge from conflict situations with a new perspective, promoting a wave of positivity and understanding that transcends personal boundaries, influencing society in a broad and profound way. The impact of the shared story between Jasmine and Elizabeth expanded far beyond what both could have initially predicted. It wasn't just a matter of raising awareness about Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, a complex condition that challenges both patients and doctors. It was about touching hearts and minds throughout the community, promoting a wave of positive change that resonated across various sectors of society. Inspired by this powerful testimony of overcoming adversity, empathy, and personal transformation, several local organizations mobilized to initiate educational campaigns focused on combating racial prejudice and emphasizing empathy as an essential tool for overcoming differences. These initiatives sought not only to inform, but also to inspire action and reflection within communities, encouraging a more open and inclusive dialogue about often neglected issues. Schools and universities, recognizing the educational and human value of Jasmine and Elizabeth's journey, promptly invited them to share their experiences through lectures and seminars. Students were exposed to real-life stories that emphasized the importance of values such as respect, understanding, and forgiveness. Teachers and administrators saw in this opportunity a way to enrich the educational curriculum with valuable life lessons, contributing to the formation of more conscious, empathetic, and prepared young people to deal with diversity in a positive and constructive way. At the heart of this transformation were Jasmine and Elizabeth, whose lives took new directions as they became increasingly involved in these initiatives. Together, they found a new calling, joining forces in projects that promoted equality, inclusion, and mutual understanding. Elizabeth, using her influence and financial resources accumulated over the years, became a fervent advocate for research into rare diseases. Additionally, she was instrumental in creating a scholarship program for young people from marginalized communities who dreamed of pursuing careers in medicine, but found themselves hindered by socioeconomic barriers. This scholarship program represented not only an opportunity for the beneficiaries, but also a symbol of hope. And that change is possible. Through this initiative, Elizabeth sought to somehow rectify past mistakes by investing in the future of promising young people. For Jasmine, collaborating on these projects reinforced her belief in the power of medicine, not only as a science, but also as a vocation capable of healing more than physical illnesses, also healing social divisions through the example of leadership, compassion, and determination. Amidst her professional ascent as one of the leaders in the field of Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, Dr. Jasmine Carter discovered an equally fulfilling passion: mentoring. She dedicated herself to guiding medical students, many of whom hailed from underserved communities, openly sharing both the triumphs and adversities of her own journey. In each mentoring session, Jasmine not only imparted medical knowledge, she opened up about the challenges she faced, from initial rejection at Elizabeth's boutique to the hurdles overcome on the path to becoming a renowned physician. Her story, punctuated by resilience and perseverance, became a source of inspiration and a living reminder that with determination and hard work, seemingly insurmountable barriers can be overcome. In her lectures, Jasmine emphasized the importance of cultivating compassion as much as technical competence. She argued that true greatness in medicine is not only measured by acquired knowledge or developed skills, but also by the ability to connect humanely with patients, understanding their pains and hopes. This ethos became the cornerstone of her teaching, encouraging future physicians to see beyond symptoms and diseases, recognizing the whole person in need of care. In addition to mentoring, Jasmine continued to tirelessly dedicate herself to her research on Ehlers-Danlos syndrome. Her groundbreaking work in the field not only advanced scientific understanding of the disease, but also led the development of new therapies promising to revolutionize its treatment, significantly improving patients' quality of life. The impact of her work transcended medical circles, reaching those living with the syndrome daily, offering them not only hope but concrete solutions that once seemed distant. Jasmine's office became a pilgrimage site for patients seeking not only treatment, but also understanding and support. Her empathetic and innovative approach to treating Ehlers-Danlos syndrome established her as a pioneer in the field, attracting the attention of researchers and clinicians worldwide. Furthermore, her contributions to the field were recognized at various international medical conferences where she shared her findings, highlighting the potential of the therapies she developed. But perhaps it was in the sphere of mentoring that Jasmine found her true calling. By nurturing a new generation of physicians who value both the science and soul of medicine, she ensured a legacy that would transcend her own time in the profession. Jasmine encouraged her mentees to adopt a holistic approach, constantly reminding them that each patient carries a unique story, and that recognizing and respecting that story is crucial to healing. Among the many touched by Jasmine, many returned to their communities to serve, armed with the knowledge and compassion she instilled in them. They became advocates for equality and healthcare access, working tirelessly to ensure that no one, regardless of their background or circumstances, went without the care they need. Since the moment of their bitter confrontation to the unfolding of their lives in unforeseen directions, the relationship between Jasmine and Elizabeth underwent a remarkable metamorphosis, evolving from a painful reminder of past injustices into a collaboration deeply rooted in mutual respect and a shared aspiration to instigate positive change. Elizabeth's process of reflection on the contours of her journey revealed a transformative truth. Her vulnerability and openness to change emerged not as weaknesses, but as the pillars of her renewed strength. She began to realize that by embracing these qualities, she could transcend past mistakes and pave the way for authentic redemption. Witnessing Elizabeth's evolution, Jasmine discovered in her former adversary an unlikely ally, a fellow warrior in the ongoing battle against social injustices they both committed to combat. This mutual recognition of the capacity for change and growth served as a solid foundation for their emerging partnership, shaping a bond that was both professional and deeply personal. Elizabeth's transformation, catalyzed by Jasmine's empathy and forgiveness, became a source of inspiration for the community around them. Observing the journey of these two women, society was encouraged to transcend the barriers of surface perception and recognize the essence of shared humanity that binds us all. Jasmine and Elizabeth's singular story resonated as a powerful reminder that, regardless of past challenges and mistakes, it is always possible to forge a more promising and harmonious future. This collective understanding ignited a new flame of hope and determination within the community, prompting a movement towards dialogue, reconciliation, and cooperation. As the partnership between Jasmine and Elizabeth flourished, becoming a symbol of transformation and redemption, they emerged not only as figures of influence in their respective spheres, but also as beacons of change, illuminating the path for those seeking to overcome divisions and build bridges of mutual understanding. Through their joint work, they demonstrated that the power of forgiveness and empathy can unleash waves of positive change, redefining what it means to live in a truly inclusive and supportive community. So, what did you think of this amazing story? Leave your opinions in the comments. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Turn on the notification bell to be notified of every new video. Until next time.